Now, Lowcountry Forever, a public affairs presentation of the Charleston Radio Group.
It's that great time of year in the Lowcountry. Spring has sprung, weather is warm, people are getting out and doing things, and we've got a suggestion for you that you should be doing on May 7th in Moncks Corner. I'm Brian Cleary, and today on Lowcountry Forever, we're talking with some of our friends from the Carolina Youth Development Center. Joining us is the Vice President of Development with the Youth Development Center, Dan Daniel, and also the center's event and volunteer manager, Katie Bendon. Now, Katie, let me throw this out at you. May 7th, the event is a color run. What in the wide world of sports, for people who don't know, is a color run?
So a color run is where you come out. We're providing white T-shirts for you. And as you're making your way through the 5K, you will be showered with colored powder. So we have a couple different stations with different colors that by the end of it, your whole white T-shirt should look like a rainbow.
This is a fun event. This is fun to do. You're not shooting paint guns at people.
Correct. Yes, it is fun. We provide sunglasses and T-shirts so you don't get it in your eyes. Strollers are welcome. Friendly pets are welcome. It's a very fun-filled event for the family.
And so we'll be coming up on May 7th. Give me the who, what, where, when for this event.
So it is on Saturday, May 7th. The race kicks off at 9 a.m. It is at the Moncks Corner Recreation Complex. People can register for $35 online, or they can come the day of and pay the $35 to run. And it'll just be a fun event. People will come out, they'll get showered with color, and at the end of it, we'll have a DJ, some food trucks, some inflatables. So it should be a fun-filled Saturday.
Seems like a run for a guy like me who's not really in shape. This isn't the bridge run. We're not running for, you can run for time. Obviously, you'll be timing. It'll be a race as well, but it seems to be a less serious event.
Right. It's only 3 miles, so you can run, walk, skip, jog, whatever your heart fancies.
Only 3 miles. That's said by someone who's probably in pretty good shape. But me, on the other hand, 3 miles, but I can make it. I know I can. And of course, it will benefit Carolina Youth Development Center. So Dan, for people who are unfamiliar with what the Carolina Youth Development Center is, how would you explain that to someone?
Carolina Youth Development Center, or CYDC, because that's a mouthful, is South Carolina's oldest and longest operating nonprofit. We were founded in 1790 as the Charleston Orphan House, and we've been a significant part of the social fabric of the Lowcountry for more than 230 years. Our mission is to cultivate thriving children and families. We do that using a proven process that includes healing, teaching, strengthening, and empowering. Our goal is really to help families stay intact, but in those instances where a child is better off living apart from their family, we provide a residential option where we can provide more intensive therapy, more support services to really help them heal and get back to a place where they can thrive in their family or in a foster family, or to be prepared for independent living.
People may know that you've got the facility there in North Charleston, and someone may then ask Dan, well, why would you do a run, an event in Moncks Corner?
So we actually have 2 campuses. Our North Charleston campus was opened in 1951 and replaced the original orphan house located downtown Charleston. But in 1998, we opened a second campus in Moncks Corner. That campus is the only emergency shelter in all of Berkeley County, but we provide the same residential support services there for youth that we do in North Charleston.
And in both of the quote-unquote old titles for the organization that's been around, 2 centuries now, the word orphan comes up. Is orphan a bad word these days?
It's not a bad word. It's really just a word that has gone out of our vernacular and has been replaced with the foster care system. Today, we don't really have orphanages in our country, at least not very many of them, because the goal over the years has been to find ways to strengthen families so they can stay together. And that really dates all the way back to the creation of the Social Security Administration and the original widows and orphan benefit that for the first time in our country's history really gave a single parent the financial ability to keep a child at home if they lost the breadwinner for the family. And so that's really when we started to see orphanages start to decline. and over time be replaced with the foster care system that we know today.
On Lowcountry Forever today, we're talking with folks from the Carolina Youth Development Center. I'm Brian Cleary, joined by the Vice President of Development at CYDC. He is Dan Daniel. Also, the event and volunteer manager, Katie Bendon, is with us now. Katie, we've got the event coming up about May 7th in Monk's Corner. I can register as an individual or I can join a team. Is that correct?
That is correct. So if you want to come out with your family, friends, coworkers, there's always the option to join together as a team and raise money for our organization.
And you've got a big sponsor for the Color 5K event. Who would that be?
Our presenting sponsor is Home Telecom. So we've had a very long-standing relationship with them, and they've actually had a lot of their employees come out in the past. So we are excited to have them as our presenting sponsor this year.
And if somebody wants to either form a team or register individually, what's the steps they need to take to do that?
To form a team, you can go to cydc.org. Under our events tab, you just click on the Give Me Shelter Color 5K, and that will take you to the website where you can register, form a team, donate if you're unable to attend the event, and then you can also check out the fun prizes that you could win by fundraising.
So, Katie, you're in charge of the event as well, but in your introduction, I mentioned the fact that you were also a volunteer manager. If somebody wants to volunteer with CYDC, or can they volunteer for this event, how does it work if I want to give some of my time?
Yeah, great question. So if you're just looking to volunteer with the organization, you can always just reach out via our main website. For the event specifically, on that Color Run page, there is a volunteer sign up. We are looking for lots of volunteers, so you could be the lucky person that gets to throw the color at people that day. Woo-hoo! So if you'd like to volunteer, you can go to that website, sign up, and we'd love to have you.
So Brian, rather than putting yourself out there and committing to walking 3 miles, you can stand in one spot and throw powder paint at people walking by, or volunteer to hand out water bottles, to check people in when the event begins that morning. There are plenty of ways for you to participate that don't involve you working up a sweat or getting covered with paint.
I have to admit, the throwing paint thing kind of is very intriguing, and I'm sure I'm not alone. So somebody needs to step up and volunteer for that. Now, Dan, I mentioned, and Katie did, the fact that Home Telecom has stepped up. There are some corporate sponsors and some organizations in the area that do help out the Carolina Youth Development Center. Why don't you talk a little bit about the help that you get from our Lowcountry community?
Absolutely. And I want to give a really big shout out to Home Telecom. They have been a supporter of CYDC for almost 3 decades. Ever since we opened our Monk's Corner campus, they have stepped up in big ways and in consistent ways to support our organization. They do that not just with the company's money, but they also do it with the time that their employees put into coming out and volunteering, both at the center and at our events. They've just been a phenomenal partner for many, many years. That's also true for Berkeley Electric Cooperative. They have been longtime supporters of our Berkeley operations. Other companies in the area, Nucor Steel, Santee Cooper, Parker Hannafin, are all repeat supporters of this event. And this year we're recognizing some new sponsors. Seafox Boat Company, which is located right there in Monk's Corner, Premier Nationwide Lending, which offers mortgage lending services throughout the Tri-County area. I mean, this event would not be possible, nor would any of the things that we do as an organization be possible without the significant support of our local community, including our corporate community.
And as an individual or someone who's listening to us with our conversation today, what is it that you could use from the community in terms of what kind of help that a person could provide to the Carolina Youth Development Center?
Well, we like to remind people that with a 9-acre campus in Monk's Corner and a 36-acre campus in North Charleston, both of which have been around for decades, there's rarely a day when something doesn't need to be pounded, planted, or painted. And so we always have opportunities for both individuals, for social clubs, church groups, corporate groups to come out and spend an hour, a half a day, helping make sure that our facilities stay beautiful and functional. We also have opportunities for individuals to interact with the youth who live with us. folks like KCON and Joy Law Firm love to come out in the summertime, do barbecues for the kids. Our kids look forward to that. And then, volunteering at events like our Color Run is just a great way for groups of individuals, whether they're friends or Sunday school class or corporate departments, to come out and spend time with each other supporting a great cause.
Today on Lowcountry Forever, we're talking about the Give Me Shelter Color 5K that's coming up on May 7th. It's an event that benefits the Carolina Youth Development Center, and I'm Brian Cleary, joined by Dan Daniel. He is the Vice President of Development with CYDC, and Kate Bendon, who is the event and volunteer manager. Now, Dan, for people who are kind of getting a sense of what you do at CYDC, the individuals that you have as part of the program, I'm using the word bad for a second time, but these aren't bad kids, right?
Oh, no. We don't believe there really is such a thing as a bad kid. There are children of all ages who find themselves in situations that no child can be adequately prepared for. And whether that's the result of poverty, the result of dysfunction in the family due to addiction issues or loss of job or change of health, there are family circumstances that are hard for any of us to get our arms around. And organizations like CYDC think it's important that we wrap those families up in support to help them deal with whatever crisis they're dealing with. And when that support means removing that child from the home, either on a short-term or long-term basis, we want to make sure that that child feels loved, feels valued, gets the support that they need, so that at some point, ideally, they can reunify with that family or thrive in a foster care family, or if they're with us until they turn 18, are prepared to go out, have a productive adulthood.
So the Give Me Shelter Color 5K is coming up on May 7th. It'll happen in Moncks Corner. Katie, it's more than just a run. Obviously, it's a fun run, but then you guys have some planned activities. It's really kind of a fun morning for the entire family, I would assume.
Correct. Yeah. Once the run is over, we'll have different inflatables, food trucks, a DJ. So we're really trying to create a fun morning, early afternoon for all families, coworkers, and everyone in the area.
And we've had some
Brian, we're counting on you to make sure that it's sunny and 70 degrees.
Absolutely. I'm this close with Storm Team 2's Rob Fowler, and I'll give him a call and just say, look, at perfect weather, cool in the 70s, and then warming up after the run's done to about 78, 80. It'll be a Moncks Corner Chamber of Commerce day, no doubt about it.
Perfect.
So we want Katie to get people involved in the run, individual as in teams. And again, give us that information so that people can sign up and be a part of the event.
Yeah, so anyone who wants to be part of the event can go to cydc.org. Under our events tab, you can click on the Give Me Shelter Color 5K, and that's where you can register for the event. It is a $35 registration fee for all individuals, and then you can create teams with your friends, families, coworkers, neighbors, whoever, and you can all come out and participate in the run together and get covered in color. Dan, will you be coloring people in color, or will you be running yourself, or what's your role on this Saturday? I know Katie's going to be running the show, so what will you be up to that morning?
I suspect that no matter what Katie has me do, I'm going to end up covered in powdered paint. I have resigned myself to that. So I'm hoping to be able to get out there and run the course. I've got several friends of mine that are going to be joining me and my wife. So we plan on running the event, but whether I end up doing that or working at one of the color stations or water stations, I suspect by the end of the day, this gray hair of mine is going to have more purple and yellow in it than anything else.
It'll be the hippest you've looked in the 21st century. Purple hair on you, Dan. I look forward to that.
Sad but true.
The money that's being raised is funds that the CYDC really needs and will also help there in both North Charleston and in Moncks Corner.
That's absolutely correct. Our annual operating budget is about $4.5 million. Our largest source of funding is the federal government. That flows through the South Carolina Department of Social Services, but they simply don't cover all the cost of providing excellent care with proper oversight and fidelity. And so we have to rely on the philanthropy of our community. Last year, about 27% of our budget came through our events and through individual donations So this is significant for us.
And we have all the information you need on the Give Me Shelter Color 5K Run to benefit Carolina Youth Development Center on Saturday, May 7th in Moncks Corner on each of the Charleston Radio Group websites. And don't forget, Mix 95.9's Guy from Two Girls and a Guy, Mike Edwards, will be out that morning to MC the run. The Carolina Youth Development Center, our guest today on Lowcountry Forever.
The Charleston Radio Group is the Lowcountry. Every week, we highlight local organizations and events that are helping to make a difference here where we live. If you have a group, event, or an idea to feature on Lowcountry Forever, let us know. Visit lowcountryforever.com and click on our podcast link for contact information. Now, Lowcountry Forever continues.
Employment or perhaps unemployment, the lack of employment, it's affecting both people and employers all across the Lowcountry, and it's what we're discussing today on Lowcountry Forever. I'm Brian Cleary, and I'm joined by the local manager of Higher Dynamics in Charleston, Jon Nickalus. Jon, thanks so much for being with us and sharing your expertise today.
Absolutely, Brian. Thanks for having me.
So the question most people, I think, have these days, there are so many jobs available. How did that happen? Why is that?
It's a great question. I think it really is kind of the perfect storm of the economy recovering after COVID and all the impacts of what was going on worldwide. What has happened is really the economy has come back in a great way. Everybody is looking for people to help. It doesn't really matter what industry people are in. And there's just a plethora of jobs available for workers that are looking to either come back into the workforce from maybe being away for various and sundry reasons, or for people who are looking to potentially increase or improve their job situation. And now's a good time to do that.
So is that a situation, it would seem, where the employees have some of the power, or it's a better situation for the employees than the employers? Would that be accurate?
Yeah, right now it really is an employee-driven market. There are really almost 2-to-1 or even 3-to-1 in terms of jobs available for applicants. So for people that are interested in looking at making a job change, or for people that have been out of the workforce or wanting to get back in, now is a phenomenal time to do it.
So what is it that Higher Dynamics does here in the Lowcountry?
So Higher Dynamics is a staffing agency. We represent between 60 and 70 companies here in the Lowcountry, primarily in the verticals of supply chain, manufacturing, and office administrative support. We fill generally long-term permanent positions for companies in the area. Say they may be smaller, kind of mom and pop shops with only 10 or 12 employees, all the way up to, large global organizations that, everybody listening to this show would recognize. And our expertise is recruiting. We partner with agencies to be able to help people find qualified, skilled people that are looking for a long-term permanent job. And we really help connect the dots and are excited to be able to do that every day.
In terms of someone reaching out to you, would an individual looking for a job reach out to you, or would it more be, hey, we're a business, we have some openings that need filled, and that's who would turn to Higher Dynamics?
Yeah, so I'd be happy with either one, Brian, and I appreciate your help with that. The people that we work with are both companies, right? So we service our customers. They'll call and place an order for what kind of positions they need to have filled. And we're obviously happy to do that. And we've got salespeople that are out every day looking for new opportunities. We also have people that find us online through social media posting, or driving by on Ashley Phosphate Road and they see our sign and just walk in the doors. And we're happy to help people find a job, or, often we can be a great way to get somebody into a company here in Charleston that they may not know how to apply for or how to be able to get in the doors, and we can help make that happen.
So someone who might be interested, whether they're on the employee or the employer side, talking with you, what's the best way that they can get a hold of you?
Our phone number is 843-277-6900. That's at the Higher Dynamics office here in North Charleston, so that's super easy. You can also find us online at higherdynamics.com. Again, www.hiredynamics.com. And we also have an app. And if people are interested in apps, right, like everybody loves an app, our app is Work4HD. So WORK, the number 4HD. And you can contact us in any of those ways. Or again, just walk by our office.
We're talking about the job market here on Lowcountry Forever. I'm Brian Cleary, joined by Jon Nickalus. Jon is the market manager for Higher Dynamics here in Charleston. So let's start pecking away at this. Let me start from an employee side. First of all, Are the days of company loyalty gone? It used to be that, your dad got a job, he worked for a company for 35 years, retired, that was it. If I'm entering the job market or part of the job market, does that exist anymore?
So I think it really depends on what people's motivation is.
Okay.
Would companies love to have a 20 or 30-year employee walk in their front doors? Absolutely. And I believe that there are still those companies out there that would love for people to do that. If you can get in a company and work your way up and get into the position that you're after, I do think that's still valid. But I do think that there are people in the workforce today that feel like the best way to advance their career is to work somewhere for a couple of years and then take an opportunity with a new company and work there a couple of years and so on and so forth. There's nothing wrong with that. The only thing I would caution against is if the frequency of changing jobs gets to be more than once a year, employers may look at that with some skepticism.
What set of skills, or is there one more than other right now that's, we've seen it throughout history that you go through different times, and boy, if you've got this skill, you're going to get hired immediately. Is that the case now, or is it not really that simple?
I know. So if I could be a little humorous here, what I would say is if you're breathing and you show up to work on time every day, then you're a great employee.
All right.
Because I hear that from my customers, right? Like, man, I just need somebody to be here every day. Obviously, there's a little humor there. What I would say from a skill set standpoint is, man, if you're somebody that has a good attitude and wants to work, there's a job for you out there in the Lowcountry. And it really doesn't matter what industry it is, whether that's food and bev, the hospitality industry that we know is such a huge part of Charleston's economy, whether that's manufacturing and supply chain, which also is booming in the Southeast and, really like throughout kind of the whole country. So, almost across any industry, man, there's just opportunities for people who are ready every day to go to work and want to do a great job.
So let me go back to the humorous part, because obviously some employers have brought that up to you somewhat jokingly, maybe not. Is there truth to that, though? And if so, do you have any insight, and I don't know whether you would or not, as to why that has happened, that the quality of the employee, is it really lower these days?
I don't know that I could answer that for certainty. What I can tell you is there are some things that make the job market a little challenging, man, especially as you go fill your car up with gas and it's like $4 a gallon, right? So there are some things that companies will do to incentivize or to recognize, man, the economy kind of moves up and down and sometimes it is harder to get to work. So what I would say for companies that might hear this is think about creative ways to encourage your employees or to encourage hiring, whether that's streamlining your application and interview process, if it's maybe reaching out to a non-traditional labor pool, or considering the upscaling of your current employees to move them into roles that you're having a hard time filling. Those are some strategies that companies can use to really help in an environment where there are times when it may be pretty difficult to get somebody to apply for your job or to get them to come to work.
Somebody who's an entry-level person, maybe coming out of college, coming out of high school, when you look out there, is it just fast food jobs, convenience store things, hospitality jobs? Are there other positions out there, good positions that I can apply for?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I will tell you, it's one of the things that we talked about in our office yesterday was, man, how do we tap into college students who are here on spring break or about to be done with school and need something for the summer before they go back, or even high school graduates? And that's where I would say a service like what Hire Dynamics does as a staffing company can be a real asset, because we do offer a host of jobs. And I mean, some of our companies even do seasonal positions where they're looking for help. And it may be 12-hour shifts, 2 or 3 days a week. It may be, man, I'm looking for somebody that can work a 10-hour shift 6 days a week for the next 8 weeks, which would be ideal, obviously, for a student that's looking to get into something. So that's where I think a staffing company can really help in some of those instances. While I don't want to take anything away from the restaurant industry, because, man, those folks need people as well.
Yes.
And we all know that. For people that think, okay, well, what does a manufacturing job look like, or what does a warehouse job look like, and what do those jobs pay? Most of our customers are starting people out in that $13, $14, $15, $16 an hour range, and those are great jobs.
We hear a lot about the expense of college. You go, you get your degree, you're just socked with loans forever and ever. But obviously a college degree does make a difference in employment. Have we gotten away from trade schools and those kind of jobs? And is that an area of opportunity for someone coming out of high school?
I really think that trade school and the ability to learn a craft has been overlooked a little bit. for a company that's in the automotive industry or in the aerospace industry, and we have lots of those here in Charleston, they need somebody that's got some skills that you may not learn at a four-year school, but at a technical school where you're kind of getting hands-on would be an asset. So I do think that there's really an opportunity for folks that would like to be hands-on and learn a craft that maybe the technical colleges do get overlooked a little bit, and that's a great way to go.
The employment market is up and down. It's a challenge here in the Lowcountry. You see hiring signs all over. That's why we're talking about it. So we went to an expert. Jon Nickalus is the market manager with Hire Dynamics. Jon, you're working on both sides, the employee side and the employer side. Let's flip over to the employer side a second. You mentioned a couple of things that maybe employers might do to encourage people. Can you look into that a little further? So I've got a job opening. What is it that I could do to help myself get that quality employee?
So as a shameless plug, the first thing I would say is contact Hire Dynamics.
There we go.
We'd love to help. The real answer is there is no silver bullet to recruiting right now. You cannot just post an ad online and think that you're going to get all these great applicants. Diversified approach would be the thing I would suggest the most. You mentioned you can't drive around town without seeing signs about who's hiring. For filling positions, you really do have to have kind of a multi-tiered approach right now, where in years past, when the market wasn't quite as wide open, maybe a job board would get you the positions that you need. Now you may need to do something like a job fair or promote some kind of sign-on bonus or a hiring incentive. Those would all be things that I would encourage people looking to fill positions to check out.
So the unemployment rate is low if you look at that 3 point whatever, depending on the government figure. And there's all these jobs open. It kind of seems like, wait, one or the other has to be wrong, but can they both be right? And if so, where are we going then?
Yes, and that's the challenge that we're faced with as recruiters every day is, well, how do we find that population of people that's out there that's going to fill all these openings? And it really is a challenge to put that in front of people. What I would say, at least I know on our side, is, man, referrals is the best way to go. Okay. So if you're a company looking to hire, ask your employees, hey, who do you know that's looking for work? That's a big thing that we promote. It's a referral bonus thing. In fact, that's kind of our tagline is Hire Dynamics. We want to be the number one company you'd refer to a friend. Well, yes, that's valuable. But man, referrals is such a great source for filling openings. If you haven't done that in terms of your current workforce, that's the first thing I would do.
And let me ask you from an employee standpoint. So I'm looking for a job. One, how important is my resume these days? And two, what about my social media profile? How careful do I need to be about that? Because isn't it true that people, if I'm looking to hire you, Jon, I'm going to look at your Facebook page?
Yeah, so great question on both fronts. So I'll tackle the social media aspect first. It is important, and companies do look at it. So I would say if you're looking for a job, or if you have a job and you want to keep the job you have, be careful what you put on social media. And then in terms of the resumes, a resume is important, but it's not a requirement in order to get a job. We have plenty of customers who will hire somebody that doesn't have experience, that doesn't have a resume. But again, they're looking for an opportunity to get in with a good company and like show up every day and get a job done. So the further you move up in terms of the skill set that's required or the more technical a job is, the more important your resume will be. And, I'm kind of a stickler for give me bullet points and no more than 2 pages. So that would be my suggestion on how do I polish up my resume.
So one more thing for me is I'm coming in, I want to get this job. The interview, I have to think, is pretty critical. Can you give me a couple of tips? I'm nervous going in, Jon. I want to impress you, but what is it that I can do to really cut through and put myself above?
Yes. So great question. I would say 3 things. Number 1, be prepared. So we tell everybody that we talk to that's going on a job interview, look the company up online. You can find almost everybody online, know who they are, know what they do, know where they're located. So like you're not late to the interview, right? So look them up online. And the second thing I would say is, what are you wearing to the interview, right? Like we've had people that have gone to a job interview not in the right clothes, and they've not gotten the job just because of what they wear. It's important, right? It's an opportunity for you to earn a paycheck, and you can't go to work and wear the same exact thing, at least in some industries, that you would sitting at home watching Netflix. The third thing I would say is tell the truth. in a job interview, if you oversell your skill set and then the company takes you out and puts you on a computer and says, hey, do this for me, and you can't do it, they're not going to not hire you because you can't do the job. They're not going to hire you because you didn't tell the truth. So even if it's something that you feel like may be questionable, if you're honest and you don't get the job, then that's just not the right job for you.
He is Jon Nickalus with Hire Dynamics in North Charleston, talking jobs today on Lowcountry Forever.
Thanks for listening to Lowcountry Forever. If you missed any of this week's show, there's a complete recording under the podcast link at lowcountryforever.com. Lowcountry Forever is a public affairs presentation of the Charleston Radio Group.